Kash Patel's acts of service. Patel has used the Justice Department's Boeing 757 and its G5 to attend UFC fights not only in Vegas, but in Miami, where he was seated behind Trump. Quote, "You never saw Mueller, Wray, or Comey at UFC matches," a current agent said of the Bureau's previous 3 directors. Patel also used a government jet to fly to New York with the hockey great Wayne Gretzky to attend an Islanders game at which Alex Ovechkin of the Washington Capitals broke the all-time NHL scoring record. What? Is he actually at work? I mean, is he?
Well, the answer to Jonathan Capart's question is hell no. Kash Patel doesn't do anything. Unqualified people that don't know what they're doing, everything they do is, unqualified and, sloppy, and it's a mess. But this is really where everyone was talking. On this panel was former FBI Special Agent Christopher O'Leary. He had a couple revelations about how the FBI agents, people and staffers all feel about this new director.
I'll tell you, this is a nickname that I've heard he's being called from agents within the FBI. He's the Make-A-Wish director. So he flies to see OV score the winning goal on a 757, a jet that he used for the Render Safe mission, on the ready to dismantle a nuclear bomb if it is found in the United States.
What?
He goes to UFC fights. He goes to the Boondoggle Ranch during a government shutdown for 4 days. He goes to a golfing outing in Scotland with his buddies. The G5 jet, I'll give you an example. I was in command of a unit that used it regularly for counterterrorism missions. Just one example, when Benghazi happened, I led a small team of select FBI special personnel to immediately fly out of Washington, D.C. within hours of notice to link up with a special operations unit so we could go into Benghazi. That is what those planes are intended for. They're not intended for going to see your girlfriend sing the national anthem.
But that's what he used those planes for. And as you guys heard, it's the Make-A-Wish director, which I guess is pretty derogatory for the kids that are part of the Make-A-Wish kids who get some kind of a wish at the end of potentially what they're considering. Maybe they have a terminal illness and they get like a great experience. I would have chosen a different name, but I understand it. When are the conservative fiscal conservatives going to start getting upset about these things? Imagine if anyone else in any Democratic administration just flippantly used airplanes and funds and never worked the way that all of these guys act like they're actually working and doing all these things. How much hair would be pulled out? Here's a little bit more from that former special agent.
Piece this together, that 1 week, he flies up to New York so he can stand on the podium and steal the spotlight from all the agents and assistant U.S. attorneys who worked the gambling fraud case with the NBA. He then flies to Happy Valley, see his girlfriend sing the national anthem at a wrestling match, then carries on to Nashville, and from there goes to the Boondoggle Ranch, which couldn't be more appropriately named, during a government shutdown, spends 4 days there doing exotic hunting while government employees are not getting paid, while American citizens are not getting the services that they should get.
Why are more people offended by this? He's stealing people's shine, their valor, stealing valor from some of these other folks in the agency that are actually doing some kind of work. He has to make sure he's in front and center and is the centerpiece. You can come after Kash Patel, but when you have the president of the United States get asked about it, and then as he usually maybe would say, I don't know. I don't know anything about anything. I know nothing. All I know is that I trust him.
Are you planning to replace Kash Patel as a
No, he's doing a good job.
This week,
Kash Patel? No, he's doing a great job, I think.
This week we saw those cases against James Comey and Letitia James tossed out. Do you still have faith in Lindsay Halligan?
Oh, she's great. I think she's great. They got out on a technicality, and you'll see what happens from here on. But if you look at the actual charges, I think anybody that looks at it very fairly would say, boy, are they guilty. So let's see what happens over the next week. The court didn't say you couldn't bring the case, re-bring the case, or appeal the case. So they have a lot of options. They're going to call the shot. I'm not calling the shot. But Lindsay's a very talented lawyer, actually.
There's a reason why Donald Trump thinks that Kash Patel's doing a great job. Well, because they've, not successfully, but they've continued to cover up Epstein. I think that's That's primarily the main thing that they want to make sure they keep under wraps. But also, Kash Patel does everything that Donald Trump tells him to do. But specifically, they asked about Lindsey Halligan and Kash Patel and how they got these cases against James Comey and Letitia James tossed out. And it's just, everything is wonderful. We're going to get those back. I want to show you how closely related Kash Patel's dumbass is to also Donald Trump thinking that all this is just on the up and up. It's great. We just lost another case in court.
A criminal case against Director Comey was recently dismissed. What is your reaction to that?
Well, because it's pending in terms of appellate status and what we are going to do for the next steps, the judicial process can make whatever determination it wants, but we, the FBI, and our partners at the DOJ have numerous options to proceed, and we're executing on all those options. So we're not done.
Any detail available?
I would say stay tuned for right after Thanksgiving, and you'll see multiple responses, in my opinion.
I guess the name of that show is American Thought Leaders with Kash Patel. Thought Leaders. But stay tuned till just after Thanksgiving. In his opinion, Kash Patel says more things will happen. I don't think they know anything. I really don't think they know anything. And it's actually startling. It's almost, people will say that politicians and people in leadership positions don't know what they're doing. And there's always a degree of thing that they don't know because we're all human. These guys don't know anything. They know nothing. They think their worst decisions are amazing. Here's another juicy aspect of this whole thing on Kash Patel. The first thing is all the flight stuff and being called the Make-A-Wish director. Did you guys hear about this report, this 115-page report? The New York Post reported this. FBI Director Kash Patel is facing withering criticism from an alliance of active duty and retired agents and analysts. That's days after the White House denied media reports that the president is about to fire his ass. A troubling new report card on the first 6 months of Patel's leadership concludes that, quote, he's in over his head, and his deputy, Dan Bongino, the ghost of Dan Bongino, is, quote, something of a clown. That's according to this alliance, in which two previous reports warned about crippling DEI and politicization of the FBI during the Biden administration. The Patel-led FBI is described in this 115-page report as a rudderless ship and all f***ed up. Maybe you want to bring back maybe some of those DEI red tape that you have to deal with, rather than having a rudderless ship headed by this dumbass. Here's some more pieces from this. Patel is described by multiple internal sources as inexperienced, with one source saying that he has neither the breadth of experience nor the bearing an FBI director needs to be successful. Another source, a self-professed Trump supporter, said that Patel is not very good and maybe insecure and lacks the requisite experience or the measured self-confidence to be FBI director. They're nailing this sumbitch from every corner, from left, right, up and down. This guy's inexperienced. He has he has some self-confidence issues. He's insecure about what he's doing. Hey, here's a really good anecdote about that. Pay attention to this part. Some of the heavy criticism stems from Patel's behavior in Salt Lake City after the Charlie Kirk assassination. He's accused of giving premature public remarks that potentially jeopardized the investigation, taking credit for the work of other agencies when the suspect was arrested, and for yelling and swearing at the agent in charge. Both he and Bongino were criticized for arrogance and an unfortunate obsession with social media. They're 20-year-olds bouncing around on social media trying to promote themselves. One source said that they need to stop talking, stop posing, and just be professional. Another said that they're spending too much time on social media and public relations and are too often concerned with building their own personal resumes. Man, is it possible for this to get this bad? Like, they're social media darlings. They're taking selfies in front of the FBI building. They're standing in front of whatever, I guess, football wrestling match that Patel went to just flex. Here's more. It's not even done. On September 11th, the day after Kirk was assassinated, Patel flew to Provo, Utah on the FBI jet, but would not disembark from the plane without an FBI raid jacket on. That's according to Alpha 99, who is a highly respected source who has served in the FBI for multiple decades. Patel apparently did not have his own FBI raid jacket with him and refused to step from the plane without wearing one. You loser. Imagine this scene. This sumbitch is sitting on the plane. They just got to Utah. His best friend, Charlie Kirk, has just been killed, and this sorry ass won't step off the plane until he has an FBI raid jacket on so he can look as cool as possible to go talk about the lies that he's going to tell about that killing. Because he got off that plane and started telling lies, about that killing. It's immediate, but he wanted to look cool. The presentation administration was in full effect. It's not just Trump and Hegseth, it's all of these idiots. Here's a little bit more. It gets worse. FBI special agents at the Salt Lake City field office, busy working on the Kirk case, had to stop and ask around to find an FBI raid jacket, a medium-sized one, a medium one that would fit this little ass. When a jacket belonging to a female agent was delivered to Patel on the plane, he complained that 2 areas on the upper sleeves did not have Velcro patches attached. I want my patches. Patel would not leave the plane until he had 2 patches to cover those areas. So members of the FBI SWAT team took patches off of their uniforms and ran those patches over to Patel at the airport. The patches were then attached to the loaner FBI raid jacket that the woman gave him, and then Patel finally disembarked from the plane. You loser! He sat on the plane with his arms crossed. I'm not going anywhere till I get my FBI raid jacket. I want to look cool. And then he gets one. The patches aren't on it. He was screaming about not having his FBI raid jacket. He's the director of the FBI. And he waits until he's on the plane to get his cosplay jacket to act like he's a tough, cool guy who's figured something out and actually has some kind of information and is a badass who's coming after all the criminals. They're all fake. Here's the last part. The director was not happy with the way the investigation was going and had earlier yelled at Special Agent in Charge Robert Bowles and directed an expletive-laden tirade over perceived blunders in the case that he probably pulled off. Bongino later called Bowles and apologized for Patel's tirade, saying that never should have happened. Alpha 99, this source, also said that Patel did a disservice to the FBI by breaking with bureau tradition and norms by taking credit for the good work by other agencies in the Kirk case, and then seemed to imply the results achieved in the investigation would not have been possible without Patel's involvement. You sit on the plane, cross your arms up, kick your feet until you get your FBI jacket with the patches on them. And then afterwards, you then go screaming at folks who've actually done the work and then try and take their credit for it. Why would anyone want to work for these guys? When people resign, when people come forward as whistleblowers, when folks write books afterwards, they say, look at all these fake people and fake news, and they're just disgruntled former employees. Would you not be a disgruntled former employee if someone literally took the credit of however long you've worked on a case, how you've actually done the work, but because he stays on the plane until he gets his FBI raid jacket on, would you love that guy? Would anybody like this piece of shit? Who would like to work for a guy who steals all your credit and then afterwards demeans and berates you and yells about the issues with the case that were probably caused by him?